भद्रं मे अपि वातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. You can repeat if you like. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Savilasa Mahamoha Grahak Grasaika Karmane Grahak Grasaika Karmane. We saw yesterday that the Panchadashi is unfolding an enquiry, the need for enquiry. Enquiry into what? Enquiry into the place where there is a mistake. That is where the enquiry is needed. No mistake, no enquiry. But there is a mistake. And that mistake is centered on the I. Even though we blame everybody else for our problems and we specialize in that, we are experts in pointing the finger everywhere. As in, if you did not exist, my life would be perfect. This is what it is. And then when we run out of people, we start looking at the plants and the trees and then the ocean. Everything becomes a problem. Correct? Yeah. Plants become a problem because I'm allergic to them. Somebody talked to me once and said I'm depressed, very depressed. So I said, why don't you just go out in nature? Just put your feet on the grass. Nice it will be. I'm allergic to grass. Okay, fine, Just look from the window. No, I don't like trees. Okay, there's nothing more to tell. If you don't like trees, nothing more to tell. And so the finger keeps moving. First, animate objects, then other sthavaras, animate but non-moving objects like plants, trees, the whole natural world. And then it goes further to the 5 elements, the waters, the air, the everything. And then finally, it goes up to the stars. Why? Because my Saturn is in the wrong place. Yes. My Guru is not blessing me. Guru planet, okay? And this, my Venus is all upside down. We pick up a few terms of Jyotish because there are lots of people coming, guest lectures and all that are there. My Jupiter is debilitated. That means what? That means I can never get this knowledge. Okay, so that means what? Why come to the ashram? Sit at home. No problem. This is how the moving finger goes everywhere and then the blame is transferred on everything. Whereas the problem is what? Centered on the I. Don't think we spare the body-mind-sense complex. The body is also a problem. The mind is, of course, a bigger problem than the body, and everything is a problem. And so now the question which arises from the 5th verse that we chanted last night, which is that avichara krito bandhaha vicharena nivartate. Tasmat jiva paratmano sadaiva sarvadaiva vicharayet. So then, in the 5th verse, we get 2 very big gems which will guide our inquiry. The first gem is that the bondage that we feel is not real. It is as though real, it shines as though it is real. Like even in a dream, if you find yourself shackled and thrown into prison, where? Dream. Dream shackles, dream prison, dream person. Correct? You're not really shackled, you're not really in the prison, but in the dream, what does it feel? It feels very, very real. In fact, the person who is sleeping and having the dream would make some movements on the bed trying to free themselves. And then somebody has to wake them up, offer them a glass of water, and say, relax, this is just a dream, it's not really happening. So when they awaken, then they realize they don't have to free themselves. Why? They are not bound to begin with. So the bondage that one feels, the constrictions, the sense of limitations that one feels is due to ajnanam, ignorance. What kind of ignorance? There's only one kind of ignorance which we talk about. It is self-ignorance. Ignorance centered on the I, because of which I come to wrong conclusions. This also we saw yesterday. And in fact, we saw how the pet animals that we know and love are not depressed. They are not depressed at all. They are, in fact, we find that they are much happier than all of us put together. And this is because they only have part A of self-ignorance. I don't know myself. That is part A. Therefore, I come to the conclusion that I am an idiot. That is part B, reserved only for human beings. No, Swamiji, my dog looks depressed. My dog is very depressed. If somebody comes to me and asks like this, tells me this, I'll have only one question for them. How long has the dog been with you? Okay? That's the only question I will have, okay? Yeah. Dog is not depressed. So therefore, this sense of dis-ease, a sense of not being happy with oneself, with the world, and with the maker of the world. That is where ultimately everything goes, because you have to go to the top, you have to go to the boss. If you are with a customer service representative and you are not being served well over the phone, what do you say? Let me talk to your manager. And then manager comes, manager also is not able to solve your problems. Then what do you say? Let me talk to your supervisor. Who is the boss? Because ultimately everything rests there. And so this complaining jiva means individual. This complaining individual who is complaining solely not because the circumstances are inimical to oneself, one is complaining because one thinks that one has been targeted, one is a victim. And so this person who feels victimized, who does not feel like Brahman at all. What is Brahman? Purna. Purna means whole, limitless, Advaya, non-dual, free, mukta, shuddha, pure, free of guilt, free of hurt. That is not me. I am this small, tiny individual in this ocean of samsara. My name is Sam. Sam? Flot Sam. Jet Sam. Like a small piece of driftwood aimlessly being thrown about by the waves of terrible fortune, I am betwixt and between one calamity and another calamity. In between the two calamities, I come up for air, glub, glub, glub. Oh, there is a world outside. Oh, how nice. And then again, one more wave comes and puts me down. This is exactly this state of affairs needs vichara, enquiry. Easy to say, please do enquiry. How to do this enquiry? First of all, who is doing this enquiry? I. Who is this I? Afflicted I or free I? Of course, afflicted I. So if the afflicted I is doing the enquiry on what? The afflicted I, then what kind of answer will come? Same answer. The master's tools, one very famous writer said, cannot dismantle the master's house. This is a African American writer who was talking about using an image from slavery. So here also, one is enslaved not by anybody, but by one's own notions that I am bound, I am small, I am limited, I am finite. If this is my infrastructure, then to come out of this, I need help. This is what is called vichara. I cannot unbind myself when I am in the middle of this bondage. I cannot come out of the ocean of samsara because somebody has to tell me it is not an ocean of samsara. What is it? It's a notion of samsara. The one who makes the ocean into a notion, that is what is called Sadguru. That Guru's help I need. So the vichara here is not independent vichara, because where has the independent vichara, the enquiry got me? It has given me a headache, which is why the Upanishads must not be studied on one's own. Oh, but there are so many translations. Can I read the translations and not come to the ashram? Sure. Read the translations, but keep a Tylenol and a glass of water next to you. Because that's what will happen. That is whole. This is whole. Okay? You take the whole away from the whole. What? And then what is left is a big hole in the head. Okay? Because it is not to be studied by one's own. It cannot be studied by one's own because there is a problem here. It's called kartru karma virodha. There is a contradiction between the subject, which is myself, and then the one who is studying this is also myself. So the afflicted me cannot come out of the afflictions for this reason. And so the means of knowing that I have at my behest are useless to me where this kind of self-enquiry comes only because of the fact that what I want to ascertain, what is going to give me the happiness that I want, is not something that is objectifiable. I can objectify my body. My body is an object. I can see it. Everyone can see it. I can stand in front of the mirror and say, okay, this is what is wrong. This is what needs to be fixed. Mind also I can objectify. I am angry. I am sad. I am restless. Emotions I can objectify. And then what else? Buddhi, the faculty of knowing, I can objectify. When I say, I don't know anything, I am ignorant, I can objectify the buddhi, the intellect. But I can never objectify me. The I, which is not the body-mind-sense complex, which is the indweller of the body-mind-sense complex, cannot be objectified at all, can never, ever, ever, ever be objectified. Oh, then how will I come to know of this I if I cannot objectify it? Because everything I come to know, because I objectify it. I see it, I hear it, I touch it, the five sense organs we all know. And then I also have a few other means of knowledge in my hands. I can infer it. There is a bird outside that is making some sounds. And then if I am a, avid birder, I can listen to the sound and say, this is this kind of a bird. I can identify it, I can infer. I can infer many things. Simple inferences, one-step inferences. If all the roads in the ashram, the paths are wet, what is the inference? Show me at least one sign of life. What is the inference? It must have rained. And did I see the rain? No. That's why it's an inference. And then there are multi-step inferences, like medical diagnosis. If you have these symptoms, you must have this disease. And if you have these symptoms, this is a cure for this particular set of symptoms. Why? Because it has worked on a guinea pig. Yeah. Okay. Definitely it will work on you. Yeah. You have many things in common. Yeah. What do I have in common with the guinea pig? You are also lost in a maze of samsara. You also keep needing a treat in order to perform. And, and then you also keep going on the wheel of samsara all the time, thinking it's leading somewhere where it's not leading anywhere. That is what led all the medical scientists to conclude, if it works on the guinea pig, which is neither from Guinea, as we discover, and nor is it a pig, okay? It's a rat of some kind. It's a glorified, white-colored, furry rat, okay? Yeah. So if it works on the rat, it must work on you. Medical inference. Many, many inferences are there, many, many step inference. This is all in my hands. I can do this with every body of knowledge. And then what else do we have? We have comparison. So the ocean is like a lake but without boundaries and with a lot more waves. So somebody who hasn't seen the ocean can come to some conclusion based on this comparison. Comparison is a means of knowledge, means of way of knowing. And then finally we also have something that says, that cognizes absence of objects. Is there a pot in the palm of my hand? Show me another sign of life. Yeah. No. Why? Don't say I don't see it. What is it that you don't see is that which you see in your head. As soon as the word pot is there, enunciated, the pot, cognition has taken place, you know what pot is like, and you know that there can be a pot to fit in the palm of the hand. You don't see the pot, you don't see the absence of the pot, you see the palm of the hand and you cognize the absence of the pot. Cognition of absence. This is all that we have to know the world. To know the world in all its glories, these kinds of 5, what they are called, pramanas. Pramayaha karanam, pramanam, means of knowing, ways of knowing which I operate, I have in my hands. Which of them am I going to choose to know the Atma? Pratyaksha means direct perception, hearing, seeing, etc. No, gone. Wrong answer. Why? Because the Atma is not an object of sight, object of hearing. Even though some people say, in deep states of meditation, Atma makes a sound. And then that is when you know Atma is here. I tell you, in meditation, if any sound comes, it's digestive juices adjusting themselves. Gudu, 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 gudu. Stomach goes, kuru, 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 kuru. It's the stomach asking, where is my brunch? That's all it is. Yeah. Atma is that which doesn't make a sound. Neither can be cognized by a sound. So how can you cognize that which doesn't make a sound? Doesn't make a sound, is not an object of sight, cannot be touched, cannot be grasped. yattadadreksham agrahyam avarnam agotram apanipadam. This is all the Mundaka Upanishad, that which is not an object of sight, not an object of hearing, cannot be grasped by hands and legs, and neither does it have hands and legs. It doesn't have organs of actions, organs of senses, it's beyond all that. And yet, it is me. Very interesting. Maybe I can infer the Atma. Somebody tried. I think, therefore I am. What happens as a result of that? If you stop thinking, do you cease to exist? Huh? Huh? Whether you think or not, you exist, because in sleep, are you there or not? Are thoughts there or not? No. No thoughts, but still you exist. That's why you can get up and tell me, I slept very well. You were there, that's how you know. So therefore, this inference is not a suitable means of knowledge to know the I. Whether it's one-step inference or many multi-step inference, gone. What else is left? Comparison. How many Atmas are there? One. That's the correct answer. Yeah. One Atma is there, and then for comparing, how many entities do you need? At least two. At least two you need. So how are you going to compare Atma with what? There is nothing to compare it with. You can only compare it with Anatma, not Atma. You can only compare it with all the other objects, not that which is the truth of all the objects, not that which inheres all the objects and transcends them also. You can't compare at all. This kind of a comparison is useless. That's why even all the poets of Vedanta have trouble describing the Atma. They also want to compare. Like Shakespeare, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? One sonnet is there. No, you are better than the summer's day. And then he concludes like this. But here the poor Vedanta poets are worse off than Shakespeare, because they don't have anything to compare with for the Atma, to make the Atma us understand. Only two metaphors they keep using again and again. Atma is like the sun that you don't have to light up, it lights up everything. They overuse that. And then Atma is like space, it is all pervasive, there is no place where it is not. But again, Atma is like the sun means what? It is just a very pale comparison. Shall I compare thee to the sun? Immediately you have to conclude, no. Why? Because of which the sun is cognized. Oh, but the sun is cognized by my eyes. The eyes are cognized by what? The mind. The mind is cognized by what? Buddhi. Buddhi is cognized by what? That which does not have eyes, that which does not have anything, that which is just knowledge without a knower. Without making itself or converting itself to a knower, it is all knowledge. That is Atma. So this subject, which is the truth of everything, I have to see, I have to understand, it is not available for my hands and legs, it is not available for my mind. Therefore, I have to drop the DIY attitude. What is the DIY attitude? Do it yourself. Yes. Very funny we are. As a humanity, we take help for everything. For everything there is a guru. Dance guru, cha-cha-cha, yes. And then music guru, yes. Cooking guru, yes. Stock market guru, we can't do without him or her, yes. And then there is also somebody who says, I am life guru, life coach, yes. All these entities we take help from. Cooking guru, cleaning guru, everything guru. Cleaning guru means, these people who tell you to put everything away. Whatever is used, you have to put it all away immediately in its place. For everything we need a guru. When it comes to the most intimate thing, which is myself alone, which is the cause of all pain, all sorrow, all suffering, what do I say? I want to do it by myself. We are very funny people. Here is where help is needed. So the vichara in the 5th verse, what is being talked about, this enquiry, is the enquiry of the self, not enquiry by the self. So, vicharena nivartate. So, ajnana krito bandha. So, the bandha, this sense of constraint and constriction that I feel, this bandha also means alienation, because I am in a straight jacket, rocking back and forth. I am certifiably mad. Why? Because I keep using the same solutions repeatedly, even though they don't produce results. All the solutions that I have on hand are for finite things, finite objects, finite solutions, and then the problem is that of not recognizing myself as the infinite Satchidananda, as the infinite Brahman. This recognition just does not fall into the lap. It must be pursued. First, I have to make place for it. I have to make the space. I have to light the fire of enquiry. I have to see how to gain this knowledge. I have to search for the teacher. You don't wait for the teacher to come to you. This is not a high school prom. Somebody should choose me. Nobody is going to choose, because the teacher does not have the pressure to have students, okay? So the teacher is not going to choose. You have to choose. You have to recognize that there is a problem, and then we have to go and choose, and then we have to place the problem in front of the teacher and ask to be instructed. All this is included in the word vichara. So, avichara siddha, siddha established by no vichara, established by no enquiry, is the state of affairs in which we find ourselves. Finite, painful, limited, and having this sense of bondage. Having this sense of bondage, and therefore I need a solution. When do you need this solution? Next life? Huh? No. Why? Because the problem is here and now, so the solution is also here and now. I have to take a re-look at everything, at all the solutions that I have offered are not helping me. Therefore, I need help. So this is what is the nature of the enquiry. The 5th verse tells us the nature of the enquiry is an assisted enquiry. I need assistance, because without assistance I'm spinning like the hamster. The hamster is thinking I'm walking, I'm going far away, I'm escaping this cage. After it tires itself out going on the wheel, what does it see? It is stay back in the cage. It never left to begin with. And so, like the guinea pig, I also have to think outside of this box. This box where I have boxed myself in through various finite identities. I am a man, finite. I am a woman. I am a CEO of a company. I am a lawyer, I am a doctor, I am an engineer, I am a worker, I am an employer, I am an employee, I am a mother, I am a father, I am a son, I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a brother. All these are boxes. And that is the sense of bondage, because I am not able to look outside of these boxes. These boxes are simply roles, but I have let the roles, the problems belong to the role. but I have let it come on to the person. I have identified with the role so much so that the problems of the role have become my problems. Therefore, I need help. Ajnana kritaha bandhaha. This bondage caused due to the non-knowing of myself is relieved, is alleviated, is gone by the correct kind of enquiry. With the help of the Shastra, the teacher, this is the enquiry that is talked about. And in the second line of the verse, we also understand what the enquiry should be centered on. First of all, myself, Jiva, correct? Naturally, because all the problems are here, all the problems are discerned here, all the problems are felt here. And so therefore, I am the star of this enquiry, I am the subject matter of the enquiry. And so therefore what? I need the help of the Guru, the Shastra, because it becomes a new flashlight, a new means of knowledge which has access to this truth of myself. The other 5 means of knowledge, namely direct perception, one-step inference, multi-step inference, comparison, and cognition of absence, I operate. I am the subject, I am the knower, I am the pramata. I means what? Ahankara, the ego, operates this. And so the knower is left intact. In every branch of knowledge, there is a knower to command and to say, I know, janami aham. In every branch of knowledge, there is a knower. In Vedanta, there is no knower. That is why if somebody says, I have self-knowledge, back off quietly, okay? Yeah. Back away slowly, don't get into an argument, don't say anything, just back away slowly. Yeah. This is a knowledge without a knower. This is a knowledge without an author. It's beautiful. Why? Because it is you. That which is you don't, there is no owner, upper of this knowledge. It is you. This is beautiful. And so therefore, this is, we can go on and on about this. In the Kenopanishad, the student is asked a question. Quiz. Sudden Vedanta quiz. Who knows Brahman? And this eager beaver student says, I know Brahman, I know Brahman. The teacher says, if you say you know Brahman as an object, your knowledge is like a small dust bunny. You don't know anything. And then the other student thought, maybe the right answer is, I don't know Brahman. Yeah, because this student was scolded. And he just shows off all the time, big show off. He needed a put down. So I'll give the correct answer. Yes? Guru, I don't know Brahman. And the teacher says, it's very evident from your face. Sit down. Sit down. And finally the correct answer comes. Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, yo nastad veda tad veda, no na vedeti vedacha. I won't say I do not know Brahman. I won't say I know Brahman very well like an object. And those who know what I said just now also know. And then because he put it in such a wonderful way, then the teacher commends him, commends this particular student. Very beautiful. And so here there is no knower. Therefore every branch of knowledge is separate from you. This is aparavidya, this is the knowledge of relative things in the world. But we are talking of paravidya, we are talking of the knowledge of the absolute, which is absolutely free of knowership. There is no authorship, there is no knowership, because in the process of gaining the knowledge, the identification of I as the knower is knocked off. That is why this means of knowing has to come from outside. It cannot be self-generated. There is no DIY Vedanta, not possible at all. because this means of knowledge has to be highlighted for me, whereas I operate all the other means of knowledge that I have at hand. This means of knowledge is operated for me. It is exactly like an operation. You go for a surgery, and then what? First, you have researched the surgeon, you have Googled the surgeon, you have met with the surgeon. But then when you go, you're wheeled into surgery, you don't meet the surgeon. Who do you meet? Anesthesiologist. Who are you? Where did you come from? And what are your qualifications? You are in a helpless position. You're on a gurney attached to some IV. You can't even get up and walk out and say, I don't trust you at all. So sorry, I'm not having this surgery. I'm your anesthesiologist. What? What is your what is your weight? This is the only time the correct weight answer is given. Because if I reduce 10 pounds and tell my weight, I might wake up in the middle of the surgery. I have to be put out in order for whatever tumor or something that does not belong is there, that has to be excised and thrown away. I can't do it myself. And also they say, oh, the anesthesia is so that you are not in pain. It's not about so much about you. The surgeon also benefits by you being under the anesthetic. Because the surgeon doesn't want your input. Are you cutting in the right place? Such a big scalpel, are you sure? Choose the other one. Surgeon doesn't want your input. Nicely wants you sleeping so that the tumor can be taken out. And then when you come to, you are in what is called the recovery room. And then you don't even know whether the surgery has happened or not. You are still wondering, is it still, when you come to, you don't know. And that is the best way. And here too, it is a surgery of sorts. It's the excising of all the notions that do not belong. It's a notional surgery. It's an as-though surgery of all the notions. And then that's why all the gurus don't want you to be part of this. You don't want to be assisting this surgery because you will keep a few notions to yourself. Why? Because there is an addiction to the notions. We don't need your help. And therefore, this knowledge, this means of knowledge called Shastra Pramana, the Shastra itself, has to be allowed inside. And that is why I need reverence, devotion towards the Shastra, the teaching, devotion towards the person who is unfolding the Shastra for me, the Gurus. This is where the devotion, Shraddha, comes into the picture. And the same Shraddha I have for the anesthesiologist whose name I don't know, who I haven't Googled. In that moment, what other option do I have? I have to say, I trust you. I have to put the trust in her expertise and knowing that she will do the right thing or he will do the right thing. I have to put the trust. It's a leap. Here too is a quantum leap from keeping on getting trapped under my own machinations to understanding that I am free. And so therefore this means of knowledge becomes a very important discussion in Vedanta Shastra, here just alluded to by the word vichara. Ajnana krito bandha, the ignorance-based notions of bondage are totally and entirely removed by vichara, the inquiry into the self, not by the self, into the self, with the help of the teacher, with the help of the book, the Vedas, the Vedanta, Upanishads, and Prakarana Granthas, secondary texts like the Panchadashi, etc. And then, therefore what? And then the subject matter of this knowledge is also given. What is the subject matter of the knowledge? This complaining I and the non-complaining Ishvara. There's only one difference between Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva complains. That's all. When the complaints are removed, the two are one. How? We'll see that tomorrow. Yeah. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank very much Swamini Sattva Vidyananda Saraswati.